Fields and Sons, and by Parsons Ford, who became number one by making you number one first at Parsons. Welcome back. Today, retired Admiral, former president of the Burke County Commission. He's got his own institute, Bill Stubblefield.
Good morning, Rob. Great to be here.
Good morning, Bill.
As always, it's great to be here.
He is a New York Times best-selling author, retired firefighter safety engineer, Mr. John Gilstrap.
Good morning.
Great to have you here, Mr. Gilstrap.
Great to be here with the formerly institutionalized Admiral.
and it's set in perpetuity now because the finances are there to keep it around forever. Now, you picked a tough morning to wear a long-sleeve shirt in here.
I did,
Mr. Polar
I did. Yeah. Oh, well.
But we have a solution. Since Liz's not here anymore, we can pull our shirts off.
It's television, Bill.
It is television. That would be frightening, wouldn't it, John? We'd lose the audience very quickly.
Yeah, and how, yeah. The guest in this segment is former opponent of Bill Stubblefield in a county commission race. What year was that, Bill?
2006, I believe, and it was an opportunity to get to know Ryan and develop respect. He was a good candidate and a genuinely nice individual.
A Musselman High School graduate, executive director of the state's Democratic Party, Mr. Ryan Frankenberry, by telephone. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning. Good morning, Bill. Good morning, John. Good morning, Rob. Good morning, all of my Berkeley County friends and family and everybody listening in the Eastern Panhandle and Tri-County area, Tri-State area.
Yeah. How's your mom doing, Ryan?
She's doing well. She's doing well. She's out and about, attending a lot of Shepherd baseball games right now, as my nephew is a sophomore, transferred in from West Liberty. Actually played at West Liberty last year and is now on the pitching team for Shepherd baseball and has seen a couple really productive innings. So she's really enjoying that time right now.
What's his name?
Connor Chansey.
Very nice. Well, hey, good luck to him. Have a great season.
We're very proud of him.
Are you in Charleston right now, Ryan?
I am. I'll actually be up in the Panhandle the weekend of April 17th through the 19th, coming up to celebrate the big Mountain State Apple Harvest Festival court announcement, and always excited to be a part of the Mountain State Apple Harvest Festival.
Very nice. And as the executive, how long have you been executive director of the state's party, Democratic Party?
I can tell you to the minute. August 22nd, August 15th, 2022 is when I became the executive director of the state Democratic Party, and of course, I've been working in and around government, politics, policy, essentially since the Admiral defeated me there in 2006. Every time that we are on together, I always send my appreciation and deep respect to Admiral Stubblefield for not only the campaign that we had, but more so the follow-through afterwards, where he really helped guide me and introduce me to service on several committees and commissions, and really helped foster the public service that I've continued on for 20 years since.
You're very kind, Ryan, but I would argue that your exposure and your involvement in politics predated 2006 by several years because of your mother. Your mother was the driving force in local politics in Berkeley County, a driving force of something to be reckoned with, doing the right thing at the right time.
But if she raised him right, he'd be a Republican. But
well, John, you may not know this, but I was actually raised in a split family. My father was a Republican, but my mother was a Democrat.
And she ran as a Democrat, too, when she ran for office.
Hey, how is your job different than Mike Pushkin's within the party?
Great question. So the chair of the party is, the de facto leader of the party. The executive director, the way I look at my position is I am the operations guy. I'm the one that is making sure that the lights are on, the candidates are supported. I do the day-to-day, all of the operations and structure, do a lot of strategy, tactics, training, all of that. We certainly work together, and I am in this position because of an appointment, but it is they are certainly different roles.
All right, let's get into it if we could now, because Ryan, you contacted me when we had Speaker Hanshaw on the show Friday, and your text read to me in regards to what was thought to be a similar conflict as brought up by Mike Pushkin. This is regarding the speaker representing with his the law firm he's a part of, Bowles Rice, representing data centers. Thompson never worked for the WVEA. Rick was a previous speaker who was involved in sought an ethics committee opinion in regards to what was determined to be a conflict of interest a few years back. Rick Thompson never worked for the WVEA. He sought the ethics opinion before accepting a position as counsel for WVEA, which does far more than just lobby the legislature. Ethics said no. He was never employed or compensated. Hanshaw knows that, or should, and he dodged your question. Elaborate on that, Ryan, and your thoughts on the speaker working for Bowles Rice and representing data centers at this time as a perceived conflict of interest.
I appreciate that, Rob, and I stand by that text. You know, in a ongoing theme of this show, it was really dismissive the way that the speaker mischaracterized that ethics opinion and Speaker Thompson's service. You know, he described Speaker Thompson as having worked for the association. That is clearly not true. And the ethics opinion is actually only 6 pages long. I'm certain that Hanshaw has had the opportunity to read it again. And in fact, if the listening audience would like to read it, you can simply go to wvdemocrats.com/ethics, and I've linked it there for you so you can read along with me. But in that ethics opinion that Speaker Thompson requested in 2012, he specifically asked if the presiding officer of a House of the West Virginia legislature can be retained to provide legal services, which to an association which is actively engaged in lobbying on behalf of its member and employs a lobbyist when the legal services he will provide are unrelated to the association's lobbying activities. That's the beginning of the opinion. And I do want to preface this by saying I worked for Speaker Thompson in 2012, so I am connected to all of this in many ways. But I just want to clear the facts up about what the Ethics Commission said. And again, this is verbatim language, highlighted language. But in their advisory opinion, and of course they put out all kinds of code section and that they reviewed. But one of the interesting things is they said, indeed, the presiding officer of a House of the West Virginia legislature has an even higher duty to all citizens of the state and to the efficient operation of the House. It goes on to say, by virtue of his position as presiding officer, the requester, meaning the speaker, has far more power than all but one other member of the legislature. It then continues to say, as a result, he is not similarly situated to other members of the legislature and must, therefore, be held to a higher standard to preserve the integrity of the legislative process. Neither strict compliance with voting rules nor advanced disclosure of conflicts of interest minimize the conflict that arises from the speaker's situation, given the position that he holds. And I know I'm going on here, but I want to go 2 more points real quick. It then further states, the Ethics Act prohibits public officials from knowingly and intentionally using their public offices or the prestige of their offices for their own private gain or that of another person. And finally, it says that the Commission hereby finds that the Speaker cannot be expected to perform both positions without creating an unavoidable conflict of interest or the appearance of impropriety or both, and therefore he may not hold both positions. And so Speaker Thompson respected the opinion of the Ethics Commission. That ethics advisory opinion still stands. And the point is that Speaker Hanshaw has dismissed this as not a thing. We're one of 134, and that's simply not true. And the point is that he has been asked by you all directly if he sought an opinion, and he not only didn't answer but dismissed it.
Does it matter at all that he accepted this position after the legislation was already passed a year ago, and that this is specific to a Tucker County data center, and I understand he also may be representing another one in another county? I haven't confirmed that. But does that matter at all in regards to the timing of this, Ryan?
Absolutely, it absolutely matters because again, the point about the appearance of impropriety is really critical. And to your point, yes, House Bill 2014 was passed last year, and we are not aware of a potential conflict of interest during that session, but we are aware, based on the Speaker's own words on your show, that he was already engaged in representing clients that do have matters pending in both Tucker County and Mason County. The Mason County was the one that came up after we learned about the Tucker County one. But there was an active rules bundle this session that the Speaker was certainly engaged in heralding through the legislative session that does deal with these data centers. So he absolutely had he had a role in influencing legislation. He is the Speaker of the House. He is the number 3 person in West Virginia government.
Well, a very aggressive, if I understand your position, the Speaker of the House really can't be a lawyer because he's dealing with West Virginia law, and you couldn't really be a businessman in West Virginia and be Speaker, because one could argue that anything is a potential conflict of interest.
I would push back on that. For one, in fact, the past 3 speakers have been lawyers and not faced the same conflicts. With Rick Thompson, for example, he was a sole proprietor, had a small law firm in Wayne County, and prior to that had Army service, and then went on after for one, he did the right thing, the ethical thing, and asked for the ethics advisory opinion, which he followed. But then, afterwards continued his public service as the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, and then ran for and was a successful 2-term sheriff of Wayne County, and is now the current prosecuting attorney. Following Rick Thompson, there was Tim Miley, who is a plaintiff's attorney, has his own firm there in Clarksburg, the Clarksburg area. And following Tim Miley was the late Tim Armstead, who is in a different situation where he was the in-house counsel to a natural gas company. And even there, I would say there is a distinct difference because with Speaker Armstead, he came in that position in the minority, I will point out, and then ascended to the speakership in the same position. What we're seeing right now is that we have a Speaker of the House who is taking on clients related directly to legislation that is being passed under his leadership, and that deserves an ethics opinion at minimum.
Right. Ron, do you have any sense at all what role Speaker Hanshaw is playing representing the client? The purchase, I think, has already gone through. Is it setting up guide rails, or do you have any idea what he's doing?
I can't speak directly to it. What I've read in several great reports that have come out just in the past few days, I know that the Gazette's Mike Toney had a really great article, and Berkeley County's own Mr. Colbyhouse just had an article come out, I believe, this morning or yesterday, that goes into details on this. But what my understanding is he's representing these clients in various legal matters over various regulations, which he has helped shape and guide, which goes back to the initial conversations of this day of taking away local control, of consolidating the authority of how these data centers are going to be spread around the state. So yes, he definitely still plays a major role. And the simple fact is that these companies are not going to bulge rights and just finding out that they've got the Speaker of the House working on these cases. They are seeking out to have the Speaker of the House as their representative in these court cases because they know that it's going to benefit them. And again, that is what creates an appearance of impropriety.
So if we stipulate for the sake of argument, I'm not taking side one way, strictly for the sake of argument, we stipulate that the appearance of impropriety exists. What are you suggesting should be the consequence?
Well, at minimum, he should have requested the opinion of the Ethics Commission.
Yeah, but you can't go back in time. So what
should
should be the consequence now?
Well, he should still do that. I mean, I think that he should recuse himself either from the case and not represent those clients, or frankly, he should recuse himself from this legislation. This is another interesting part of this is the Rule 49, which is a legislative rule that was created, we'll say 5 decades ago. By the Democrats when they were in control, but it was weakened by the Democrats, but it was further weakened as soon as the Republicans took over to make a class of 5. So if you're a member of a class of 5 and the legislation in front of you affects your personal business, but you're a member of a class of 5, meaning at least 5 other people make money doing the same exact thing, then you are required to vote on that legislation. But the tricky part is, the Speaker makes that distinction, and the Speaker can easily decide that he's going to figure out how to recuse himself. I mean, we've watched this legislature, make up their own rules as they go when it comes to delegates taking their positions and removal of delegates. So the Speaker has a duty to rise above the appearance of impropriety.
So as a political tactician, do you see a lot of opportunity in this data center, the 2014 decision, and the fallout?
Look, I was very public as soon as I heard, and again, I go way deep in Berkeley County. My family are friends with the Gokenauers, and in fact, I actually saw Eddie and Candy right after the data center press conference here in Charleston. I happened to be walking up to the Capitol and saw them walking out. Of course, exchange pleasantries because it's always good to see friends from Berkeley County. But I will say that the immediate and persistent reaction that I've seen across the spectrum, this is not a partisan situation. This is affecting people across. I mean, John, I think that we are probably less aligned on certain issues than not, but I 100% agreed with your analogy of the gas, the need for gas, but not a refinery. What a great analogy. I've got relatives that live right there in Beddington who are certainly on opposite sides of the political spectrum than me, and we are in 100% agreement. So, yes, there is going to be political repercussions, and I am, putting my ED hat on. I'm incredibly proud of the individuals who have stepped up in 2026 to run for office across the board. We've got our best slate that we've ever had in the Eastern Panhandle. From the Democratic ticket, and I will remind our listeners that independents can request a Democratic ballot in the May 12th primary, and we have options. We have options for you up and down the ballot at the federal level and all the way down to your local level. So yeah, there's going to be some political repercussions. I'm in those Facebook groups that were discussed earlier. I see things going on. People are really upset, and they're really upset at that lack of local control, but more so, it's this lack of transparency. It's the theme of the day, the dismissiveness. It is making people become so fed up that yes, I do think that they can go out and put out a protest vote and say we're not going to continue down this path.
Ryan, if most counties don't have zoning, doesn't that over-exaggerate the importance of local control? Because we've been told, in regards to the building in Berkeley County that's been going on, and some would say overbuilding, that without zoning, we don't really have any control of it. If they check all the boxes, we got to approve it and put it where they wanted, where they bought the land. Wouldn't that apply to these data centers as well? There's no zoning in Berkeley County.
Well, I mean, actually, my understanding is House Bill 2014 removes the counties that do have zoning, like Jefferson County. I do think that there are...
But that's my point. If most counties don't have zoning, where's the local control anyway?
Oh, well, I think that our local building authorities still have control. And, I read reports that our building authorities signed a non-disclosure agreement. I think that is antithetical to government. We should be, our government agencies, our government representatives are supposed to be a source of information, not signing non-disclosure agreements with private companies and not telling us or coming out and saying, like we just heard the senator from the 15th who hadn't heard a thing about this until. So I think that there is still local control, and I think that hearing the commissioners say, well, this is out of our hands, and it's up to the governor and calling on the governor to have town halls. I think that is a larger problem, not just specifically with data centers, but just in general. People elected certain individuals because they were told that they were going to be focused on local control. And what they have been given is exactly the opposite. And I think people are fed up with that.
Well, but I think what you're describing is local information as opposed to control, because I still don't see where there's local control in Berkeley County when it comes to approving a subdivision, a development. You collect impact fees, but otherwise, we've been told by the county commission, look, if they check the boxes and everything meets what it's supposed to meet, then they're approved.
Let me give you an example, Rob.
But the county has the ability to make those boxes. And right now, under House Bill 214, the county doesn't have any control over what boxes are created or checked. And that is taking away local control.
Yeah, an example of local control, Rob, that Berkeley County has is the excessive use of water, excessive use of groundwater that would limit how much water can be taken out if you're outside of the municipal or the county water system. That bypasses, 2014 bypasses any influence the county has for limiting the amount of groundwater removed.
Fair point.
Also, I think it's a mistake to mix knowledge of government with emotions of angry people. The two don't play well together all the time.
At all, ever.
And there's just not enough time in the run up to the primaries to get people educated, right? So it's going to be, I think, an emotional vote. I think this is the best opportunity for the Democratic Party in West Virginia in quite some time. Not so much to draw people. Well, first of all, it's a perfect storm. So the Republicans have their closed primaries. So independents have no place to go except over to the Democrats to file their protest vote. And I think this is going to be a real problem. Maybe not so much for Republicans as for incumbents.
Mr. Frankenberry.
Yeah, John, I agree with you 100% on that part of it. And I will say, we've seen the Republican Party and certain members who've been pushing to encourage independents to switch parties, and that's just falling flat. We heard Delegate White come on, and the first thing out of her mouth was that she is in favor of closed primaries. She is in favor of closing their primaries to independent voices. As a matter of fact, I was part of the movement in the Democratic Party 20 plus years ago while I was still in Berkeley County to open our primary. The parties have flip-flopped on this issue of allowing access to our ballots to unaffiliated voters. And it was a tense time when the Democrats were debating it, but ultimately a lot of the folks in the Eastern Panhandle, frankly, helped lead the effort to open that up, because we saw that there was a growing number of unaffiliated voters who are true independents, who want to be able to vote, but they aren't going to be a part of a partisan party. And the Democratic Party respected that. But recently, and the closure of the Republican primary in West Virginia, it didn't just happen. It actually happened over 2 years ago. They just extended it and didn't institute it until the 2026 primary. And part of that was because of politics, internal politics, with the 2024 Republican primary, particularly for governor. But you hear now there is division within their own party over whether they should have independents coming in. But I can tell you the initial analysis of the data is that there is no wave of unaffiliated voters suddenly deciding that they are going to register as Republican. In fact, I think that the way that this has been handled over the past 4 months has been, again, dismissive and insulting to real independents who are tired of being told you have to do this if you want to have a voice. And these data centers are just going down that same path. So I agree. It is a perfect storm. We are going to take advantage of it. And that's why we have been focused on kitchen table issues.
On that note, Brian, I got to get out in this segment. I thank you so much for your time this morning, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I look forward to seeing you all. And, again, pay attention to that Mountain State Apple Harvest Festival announcement.
Take care, Ryan. Man. We are back with more after these.
Brown Funeral Homes and Cremations, Robert Fields & Sons looks forward to seeing you at the